Cause baby, when I'm gone for good.
Hello guys and welcome back to another one with us, the Review Bros, and today we're going to be reviewing a pre-workout called Hyde Nightmare version 2 by Supps. It says intense pre-workout on the front, so you know it's setting the impression of something quite menacing and strong, especially as the tub looks pretty damn cool, I'm not going to lie. It's like textured and it looks like it's got the Stranger Things monster on it and all that stuff, so it's setting the tone for something that could be crazy. But as you guys know, we'll be covering the taste, price, label and the effects and working out if it's worth picking up, so stay tuned. And if you are new here and you like our videos, give it a like, hit the sub button, tick the bell icon, so we drop about 3 reviews a week, but let's get into this one. Okay, taste and mixability, and it comes in 3 flavours: Jawbreaker, Bloodberry, and the one we've got, Black and Blueberry. They all sound quite nice to be fair, but I probably would have chosen either of the other 2 if I had the choice, but nonetheless, let's see how this one tastes. It's about 13 grams serving amount, so we whacked it in, given it a stir, and you know what, mixability is definitely better than average. Obviously it's not the biggest serving size in the world, so generally it's going to mix better, right? But let's see how it tastes. Really good. It's a nice sweet flavour. I wouldn't really say it's sour as such. Definitely getting the vibe of the Black and Blueberry flavouring system there. There's no nastiness to it, there's no background horrible taste or anything like that. Not that it would necessarily have that, because it's not the biggest scoop in the world and they've not got any nasty as such ingredients in the label. Obviously we'll get onto that. But yeah, I think they've done a pretty decent job and it is definitely a decent tasting pre. So one more sip and I'll give you a score. Yeah, I really like that. It's giving me like ice lolly, slush puppy kind of vibes, which I really like, of the blueberry nature. So I'm going to give that an 8.5 out of 10. I really think that's really quite nice. But let's get on to the price. Okay, let's talk price. So how much are you going to be paying for this pre-workout? And on first glance, it actually does look like it would be quite a premium pre because of the branding, the look of it, the feel of it, and all of that good stuff. So will that be the case? Well, you head over to their official website, prosupps.com, where you can actually subscribe and save 25% right off the bat. So in my opinion, you'd be a little bit crazy to not take that opportunity and save a quarter of the price. And then obviously you can just unsubscribe and blah, 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 if you want to, right after that. And then no harm, no foul, right? So you got the option to save 25%, so you're obviously going to do that. That means you can pick this pre-workout up for £26.57 or only 89 pence per the serving, because it's a nice 30 serving tub. Despite the tub being kind of small, there is 30 servings in there, believe it or not. So that comes in on our consistent price scale that measures how expensive pre-workouts are, where a 5 out of 10 is considered to be a typical price pre-workout. This comes in at a 9 out of 10, so priced way cheaper than most pre-workouts out there today. So what sort of pre-workout will we be getting for that price? Is it going to meet that price point? Is it going to exceed our expectations? Let's get into the label and find out. Okay guys, it is label time. So what exactly are we getting in this pre-workout? 13.3 grams serving amount. Well, first up, we've got the Vaso Endure Matrix, 9.2 grams, L-citrulline at 6 grams, which is an amino acid. Obviously, you guys probably know it by now. Very common in most pre-workouts. It's going to help to vasodilate you in the form of bumping up nitric oxide levels, increasing blood flow, nutrient delivery, pump. Love to see it. Good dose as well. Then we've got beta-alanine at 3.2 grams. Again, the dose most people look for. Very nice. It's that amino acid that gives you the itchy, tingly sensation when it kicks in. But it's in pre-workouts primarily, obviously, because it helps with endurance, because it buffers lactic acid, but you do have to reach that saturation point, i.e. take it every day until you hit X amount, a bit like creatine in that sense. Then we've got the Mental Resilience Intensifier, 450 milligrams. That's made up of N-acetyl-L-carnitine, HCl, 250 milligrams. Bit of a low dose, but it should help with some fat burning side benefits, but also focus and concentration. Then we've got alpha GPC, 100 milligrams. Really low dose, guys. You know, the least we like to see really is 400 milligrams, yielding 200 milligrams of choline. In an ideal world, we'd have 600 milligrams, yielding 300 milligrams of choline. So it'll probably do something, but not an all too much, and definitely it leaves a little to be desired on the dose there, I'm not going to lie. But that's a choline donor, and that should again help you with focus, concentration, mood, and athletic benefits. Athletic performance benefits, that is. Then we've got L-theanine at 100 milligrams, which is a bit of a Marmite ingredient. It's an amino acid. It's often seen in sleep aids, but people put it in pre-workouts because it helps to smooth over any kind of crash, you know, smooth down the jitters, tunnel it into more of a serene, calm focus. You know, like we say, it depends. We generally say it depends on the ratio of the L-theanine up against the stimulants, i.e. if there's more L-theanine than caffeine, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming on the calmness side of things. If the stimulants and caffeine are higher than the L-theanine, then generally it's okay in our experience. So we'll see how it comes together here. Then we've got the free phene stim matrix. I'm guessing that's a play on the word caffeine. 300 milligrams total. So we've got natural caffeine, 125 milligrams, which is a medium kick-in time amount of caffeine. So it's not obviously anhydrous, it's not citrate, so it's not going to come in super quick. It's more of a smoother onset, like a strong cup of coffee, not quite as much of an energy drink in that regard in terms of the dosage here, but it's obviously going to wake you up and get you moving. And the same can be said for caffeine anhydrous, 100 milligrams, again, wake you up. That's going to kick in a bit quicker than the natural caffeine. That's a little bit more abruptly. And that's, again, going to help to wake you up, form the backbone of the stimulants in this product, as it does in most stim pre-workouts. And again, that is at the dose of around about a cup of coffee. And then we've got the last one here, natural caffeine, except this time it's from coffee Arabica extract. The other one, by the way, was from Camellia sinensis extract. So it's just where the caffeine's been derived from. And this is at 75 milligrams. So again, it's because it's natural, it's going to come in a bit smoother, not so harshly. And they're all going to feel slightly different. Although they're all caffeine, they do have different ways of working and how it's processed through the body. So it should come together to form a little bit of a different feeling to just normal caffeine being lumped in there at one big dose. So yeah, hopefully no crash, hopefully a nice smooth onset of caffeine, and we will see how that comes together. Like I said, 300 milligrams total, which is the typical amount of caffeine that you see in pre-workouts these days. It is in total like a strong energy drink or a few strong cups of coffee. So it's not to be sniffed at, it'll definitely get the job done. And then we wrap off with hydration and replenishment matrix, 250 milligrams, which I have to say is quite funny because they put that very interesting sciencey sort of name on the matrix, and all that's in there is Himalayan rock salt at 250 milligrams. So it's quite funny for me, at least. Maybe my sense of humour is a bit weird, but 250 milligrams is an okay dose. It's all right. It will do something. We normally like to see upwards of 300 milligrams, but that's just semantics at this point. So yeah, it should help with your hydration, muscular contractions, pump, and tie in with obviously the L-citrulline. There is no absorption ingredient there. There's no black pepper extract, estrogen, things like that. So will that hold it back? Potentially, although it's not the biggest scoop in the world, so hopefully not. Anyway, that's it, guys. Let's get down the gym. Okay guys, so effects time of Hyde Nightmare V2. What did we think of it? Well, start off like we always do with that beta-alanine, and it kicks in hella strong. And I do think that's because, although there is no digestive age, which sometimes we find that helps, I think the reason it comes in so strong here is because it's in here at obviously the dose we look for, 3.2 grams, and it is on the smaller side of a serving amount, so there's not too much to get in the way of the beta-alanine digestion. It's obviously a good source of the ingredient as well. So it comes in at a good, honestly, 9 out of 10 on the tingle scale. It really does get you fired up and itching and moving. And if you like beta-alanine, that will be a thumbs up. If you dislike beta-alanine, you're probably going to want to look elsewhere, or at least start on half a scoop so it doesn't kick in as strong. After that, I'll be honest, it's actually a little bit stronger than the label looks from a stimulatory standpoint. Like, you definitely feel that caffeine coming in, but I think that's perhaps because it's derived from different sources to normal. So obviously it's going to hit you a little bit different to what you're used to if you're used to taking pre's that just have caffeine anhydrous or caffeine dimalate. So it is coming into your system a little bit different to normal. And like I said, I do think that's why it hits perhaps a bit stronger than I anticipated. But 300 milligrams is not to be sniffed at anyway, in any regard. So yeah, the energy comes in after about 20 minutes. The beta alanine comes in after about 10 minutes. So it's one of those ones that gets you fired up pretty soon after taking it. So you don't have to sit around for ages waiting for it to kick in, which is probably going to be a positive thing for most people, I would presume. So yeah, the energy lasts only a couple of hours, guys, which is enough for most gym sessions, let's be honest, unless you're going to live at the gym for hours on end. And there's no crash on the back end of that either. I think where they've used the 3 different types of caffeine and the L-theanine to sort of bring it down, you do come down nicely on the back end. You're not, you know, there's no negative side effects to this pre-workout, at least from from any standpoint, but particularly with the stimulatory standpoint. You're not going to be up all night, missing meals, feeling icky, jittery, horrible on it. It's very consistent and healthy feeling. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the focus, because I do think this is probably the point that needs the most attention if they're to relook at this formula down the line, because all you've got in there for focus is the alpha GPC and the L-carnitine, the C2L-carnitine at low dosages, guys. There's no beating around the bush. And I do think it leaves the caffeine a little bit high and dry, as in the caffeine's got to be the main thing that really drives home that focus. And for some people that will work, for other people that are a bit more caffeine tolerant, it perhaps won't have that much impact. For me, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I did feel focused on it, but there's definitely some more in the tank that could be explored with this pre-workout from a focus standpoint. But yeah, I felt on the ball and concentrated. I didn't feel super dialed in or euphoric or happy or anything like that on it. So yeah, I do think the energy is probably the best thing, and the sense of urgency, followed by the pump, which I'll talk about in a second. And I'd say the focus is the worst aspect, guys. Not to say you can't get focused on it, of course. It's down to your own discretion how focused you are in the gym. I'm just saying you don't get much more focus from taking this versus not. So anyway, as I touched on there with the pumps, they are the second best element. Obviously, you've got the L-citrulline at a decent dose. You've got the Himalayan salt to get things moving and contracting. And that is it, guys. But I do find that is all you really need to get the job done in a lot of scenarios. So it's giving you the means that you need to get a pump. You've just got to put the work in to get it. But it's not going above and beyond in that regard at all. And it is a very basic pre-workout. You know, for the price, it gets a 9 out of 10 on the price scale. It is a very cheap, budget, friendly pre-workout. So you have to manage your expectations. You know, I'd be a bit silly to be paying 20 odd quid for a 30 serving pre and then being like, oh, why aren't all the dosages stacked? Why isn't it getting me off my head stimmed up and focused, you know, to hell and pumped off my head and all this and that? Like, you have to be realistic with what you're paying for. And I think, do you know what, considering how cheap it is, I do think you're getting about what you'd expect for that price point, about what you'd expect.
Savage pumps in the gym and the bedroom. Wolf pump.
I would like to see a revised formula with a bit more fleshed out focus and maybe a little bit more pump to really make it a well-rounded experience. But as it is hard to sniff at for the price. It's hard to be like, oh, like I said, managing your expectations. But speaking of managing expectations, I think I've said this a few times in recent months with pre's that I've reviewed, and I think what they need to do is, this is the issue I have. They make this look crazy, you know, Hyde, Nightmare, all of this crazy graphics all over it. If you see that on the shelf, you'd be like, wow, that's got to be strong, isn't it? That'll be a crazy one. I'll have a scoop of that, please. And to your typical consumer that doesn't know what ingredients do, they would take this expecting to be stimmed up to the high heavens and have the best gym session ever and, you know, crazy experience. And you're just not going to get that, guys, from the label that's in here. So yeah, it just annoys me a little bit when companies make a pre seem a certain way and then it delivers a totally different way. On, you know, conversely, it'd be like a company bringing out the most bland, friendly, sciencey looking pre-workout, but it's got DMHA and DMAA and urea and all these crazy ingredients that gets you stimmed off your trolley. Like, that one you'd think would be friendly, but it does the opposite. This one you think is going to be crazy, but it's super friendly. So that's just some personal beef I have with pre-workouts that are doing this recently. So yeah, just market it for the sort of pre-workout that it actually is, so that it's easier for the consumer to know what they're getting themselves into. But that's why we do these reviews, isn't it, guys? We want to get the honest experience over to you so there is no confusion for the typical consumer. And I think that does wrap up the review, guys. So all I'll say is it's a good pre-workout. Well, it's an above average pre-workout, slightly. Like, I know we don't do scores out of 10 anymore, but I'd probably give it a 5.5 out of 10. So slightly better than an average pre-workout, factoring in that price point. Obviously, if it was expensive and we were getting this experience, I'd be saying different things. But we, again, have to be realistic with that price point. We're not going to be getting the juiciest pre for only 20 odd pound for 30 servings, are we? But at the risk of going round in circles, I will wrap it off here and say that I would shortlist it if you're on a budget, and if you want a nice, predictable, typical pre-workout that you get a bit of pump, energy and focus, but nothing crazy. Beginners would be fine with it, honestly. Yeah, I do think that's it. There's no negatives. It's a typical, averagey type of pre-workout that you're not getting ripped off on. Most people will be all right with it. There's no negatives to it. And there we have it, guys. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, despite how it looks. But yeah, that's our experience of it. If you've used it, let us know down below what you thought of it. All the usuals, you know, what else do you want to see us review? Get it all down below. It always helps us out with the algorithm. You know how it goes. And as always, stay stimmed. Mildly on this one.